Welcome to this explainer. Let's jump right in, because today we're pulling back the curtain on the financial advisory industry to show you what's really happening with your money. Think about this for a second. What if the person managing your life savings was legally allowed to recommend investments that actually benefit them more than they benefit you?
And no, we're not talking about some hypothetical scenario or some shady, corrupt backroom deal. Right now, in the US, this is the default operating model for the vast majority of financial advisors. They are literally legally permitted to push products that serve their bottom line long before they serve yours.
Because of that rather shocking reality, before you hand over a single dollar or sign any paperwork whatsoever, you absolutely must ask one simple question. Are they a fiduciary? The answer to that single question will tell you exactly how they're legally allowed to operate with your hard-earned cash. Which brings us to the big legal loophole: fiduciary versus suitability. There's this massive gap between what we naturally assume about financial advice and what the law actually requires. You really need to know these two legal standards. The fiduciary standard means the advisor is legally required to act in your absolute best interest, period. But the suitability standard? A broker operating under this rule only has to recommend products that are quote-unquote suitable. Not the most cost-effective, not the best, just suitable. So if there are two identical funds, but one costs 0.03% and the other costs 1.5%, but pays the advisor a fat commission, under the suitability standard, pushing you into that expensive one is completely legal.
So, what exactly is a fiduciary then? It's a professional who is legally bound to act in your best interest at all times, with absolutely no exceptions. If a fiduciary recommends that higher-cost fund just to line their own pockets, they are in direct breach of their legal duty. That's the strict standard you want your advisor bound by.
Let's move on to the hidden fee problem and look at what you're actually paying.
The crazy thing is, most people have absolutely no idea what they're paying their advisor. They know someone's getting paid, sure, but the exact numbers are totally fuzzy. Let's look at assets under management, or AUM, which is the most common fee model. 1% sounds tiny, right? Just a drop in the bucket. But on $1 million portfolio, that tiny 1% is 10 grand a year. Over 20 years, it drains about $270,000 from your wealth. And get this, as your portfolio naturally grows, their fee grows automatically every single year, even if they aren't doing a single extra thing for you.
Let's really put that into perspective. $300,000. When you compare a standard AUM fee to just managing your own low-cost index funds, the compounded difference over a 25-year accumulation phase can drain roughly 300 grand from your net worth. Guys, that's not a rounding error. That is literally an entire second retirement account just completely gone in fees.
And to make matters worse, that 1% AUM fee, it's often just the tip of the iceberg. Underneath it, you've got these buried layers of hidden fees. You've got fund expense ratios if they shove you into actively managed mutual funds. You've got trading costs, administrative and custodial fees buried deep in the fine print, and even surrender charges that can hold 5 to 10% of your money hostage if you try to leave early. When you add all these layers up, it can drag your total all-in cost to a staggering 2.5% or even 3% every single year.
Next up is the commission trap and the huge problem of incentive misalignment.
Beyond those standard fees, a massive chunk of this industry runs on commissions. This means the advisor gets paid solely when you buy specific products. And honestly, the commissions on some of these are wild. Whole life insurance, that pays the advisor 40 to 90% of your first-year premium. Variable annuities pay 5 to 8%. Mutual funds can have a 3 to 5% front-end load. Now, it's not that these products are inherently evil in every single situation, but you have to see how this system creates immense pressure. It totally misaligns the incentives, pushing advisors to recommend higher commission products rather than what's actually best for your portfolio.
Variable annuities really deserve a special shout-out here. They take the complexity of insurance and combine it with the cost of an investment product, aggressively stacking layers of fees on top of each other. You're paying for mortality and expense risks, investment management, rider fees, admin fees. It can easily pile up to nearly 5% a year. It absolutely makes them one of the worst value products available to retail investors.
So, do you actually need an advisor? Let's explore when they legitimately add value. Let me be incredibly clear here. The point of this explainer is not to make you distrust all advisors. Not at all. Ethical, highly skilled advisors provide phenomenal value in the right, complex situations. For instance, if you have a high income, elite tax planning can save you tens of thousands of dollars. Behavioral coaching is also huge. Vanguard actually estimates that a good advisor adds about 1.5% in annual returns just by talking clients off the ledge and stopping them from panic selling during a market crash. If you've got complex estate planning needs, or you're navigating a massive life transition like selling a business or going through a divorce, paying a good, ethical advisor is an incredibly smart return on investment.
Finally, let's talk about how to protect your money and find someone you can actually trust. Whether you decide to hire a pro for those complex scenarios or you want to do it all yourself, you need a playbook to navigate this safely. When you're vetting a credentialed professional, like a certified financial planner, you absolutely must know the difference between fee-only and fee-based. They sound like the exact same thing, right? But they couldn't be more different. Fee-only means they are paid solely by you, with zero commissions ever. It's the cleanest, most transparent model. Fee-based, on the other hand, means they are paid by you and they can still legally earn commissions on the side, meaning those hidden conflicts of interest are still very much in play. Always, always look for fee only.
But here is the secret the industry really doesn't want you to know. If you're in your 20s, 30s, or 40s, and you're just accumulating wealth with a fairly straightforward financial situation, you can totally do this yourself. It's just 3 steps. Open a Roth IRA at a place like Fidelity, Vanguard, or Schwab. Invest in simple, low-cost index funds for U.S. and international exposure. Then, just set up automatic contributions and rebalance it maybe once a year. We're talking 2 hours of work a year, it costs around 0.03%, and historically, it actually outperforms the vast majority of professionally managed accounts. Boom! No advisor needed.
However, if you do have a complex situation and decide an advisor is the way to go, you need to write these 5 exact questions down and ask them before you sign anything. 1. Are you a fiduciary in writing for all recommendations? 2. How exactly are you compensated? Are there any commissions? 3. What is my complete all-in annual cost? 4. What specific credentials do you actually hold? And 5. Have you ever been disciplined? By the way, you can verify that last one yourself for free on FINRA BrokerCheck. If the advisor hesitates, deflects, or gets defensive about any of these questions, turn around and walk away immediately. Which brings us to our final thought for today. You can always control who you trust with your money and exactly how much you pay them. The real question is, are you actually in control right now? Knowledge is quite literally your only protection when it comes to professional relationships involving your wealth. You might not be able to control the stock market, nobody can. But you have absolute total power over who manages your hard-earned money. So what steps are you going to take today to protect it? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.